All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Wake up, everybody. Wake up. Let's talk, man. I literally woke up just to talk more about this fight between Caleb Plant and Benavidez last night and to talk about Canelo Alvarez. You guys see the title, and first off, I'm gonna wait till a few more people join up before we get into it. While I make my coffee. But shout out to everybody that was here last night, man. We had a lot of fun last night. We had a good time doing the live commentary last night, And what else could I say? I think there was a few. I did watch some of the highlights again this morning. Just wanted to like really, see if I could look for certain things that I didn't notice last night during the fight. And to be honest, there wasn't. There really wasn't. I still believe like Kenny Bayless was just way too involved in the fight. I think if you are going to, get that involved and not warn Plan about the holding, just like I said last night, that's definitely a problem. You know what I mean? It's definitely a problem. And now that I watch it again, I really don't believe that. I don't know what Caleb Plant's game plan was. Like, I'm a little unsure about the game plan. Like, what exactly? It looks like the holding was part of the game plan from jump, you know? And I'm saying that because all Plant did was attack and hold, like hit and hold. What we saw him do in the Canelo fight was completely different. He didn't even try to, shoulder roll or, he didn't try to do that. He didn't try to do those short counters. He didn't even try to fight that fight. It seemed like whenever the fight was on the inside, he held right away. And I mean from jump, from the opening round. He took a completely different approach in this fight. Completely. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me just grab my coffee. All right, we back. All right. All right. So the fight last night, like I was saying, it seemed like Plant never really wanted to. It's kind of weird because Plant's defense was totally off in this fight. His defense was off last night. Um, I think I really think Breadman and his game plan was to just attack and hold, you know? Uh and it led to him getting hit a lot in the second half of the fight. It's kind of strange, because Plant is a very good defensive fighter. But we didn't see any of that. We might have seen it early, but I'm trying to, when I watch the fight, I'm trying to understand exactly what the game plan was. You know, I think he did well in the first 4 rounds. All right. But I just really dislike the fact that Plant, it just looked like the game plan was to hold and never really engage at all in the pocket. I mean, like not even like on a trading level. I mean, on a level of just, you know, rolling some of the punches and countering. He totally got rid of that. That was not part of the game plan at all. What we saw him do in the Canelo fight that worked for him, he didn't do any of that. You know, it's almost like Breadman. And if you guys disagree, let me know. Matter of fact, I'm gonna draw up the link just in case if any of you guys want to join. I won't be on long. It's almost like Plant and the way Breadman tried to take this fight. Their approach for this fight was similar to like what Derrick James tried to do with Jamel Charlo in the beginning. You know, he took away a little bit of the defense in order to be a little bit more offensive, but he got punished for it. I think his only form of defense in this fight here last night was to hold. That was it. Benavidez, from a technical standpoint, like everything that I said in my breakdown, I still believe. I just feel like his punch output is high, his conditioning is great. But everything that I said in the breakdown still stands. Those flaws are still there. He was able to win because he was just too much for Play. He was too big. He was too strong. He wouldn't stop coming forward, and everything that I thought was going to happen and happened. But on the other hand, like there are fighters that can still expose Benavidez. It's just that he begins the difficult part about David is that he is just he overwhelms you, with this raw power and volume. It's not, I'm reading all of these comments since last night, and it's like everybody's saying, like, yo, he does this wrong, he does that wrong. And I get it, but that's not the reason why he's winning. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's still winning the fights. He's still winning the fights. I want to see him fight Canelo. And it doesn't really matter whether or not me or you thinks he wins the fight. I still want to see the fight. The problem is with David Benavidez, again, if you can't knock him out or if you can't hurt him, who wants to deal with that volume and that pressure? No one wants to really deal with that. It's like what I was saying about Joe Joyce last night. It's like we already know that Joe Joyce is very hittable. We already know he has flaws. We already know that certain things he do looks ugly. No one wants to deal with him. No one wants to deal with that pressure, especially for a guy that can't get hurt. He can't really get rocked. He can't, it's like, and I'm not saying, I know Plant is not Canelo. Plant's already lost to Canelo, but Plant, I don't think he hits as hard as Canelo. I think this Canelo's is a better fighter, right? We saw that when they were in the ring together. But in this fight here, I think what David did was prove to everybody that he belongs. For the people that looked at him and technically broke his style down and said he has all of these flaws, at least in this fight, it shows that he belongs. Whether or not you like the performance from Plant, he showed and proved to us that he belongs by stop. Oh, he didn't stop him. It went the distance. It went the distance. But I feel like this was a bigger beatdown than the Canelo fight. This was a beatdown as opposed to Canelo stopping him. Let me read some of the comments. Arpenda said he had the Haney game plan. LOL. Fotex says Plant pulled a Wilder perfect first round and went downhill. Well, I mean, it's the first round. I mean, I thought the first 2 rounds he did extremely well. I think after that, it started to change pace after that. Not done says, oh, he just sends emoji. What's up, bro? Fotex says the ref got me annoyed. Yeah, Kenny definitely, he was just too involved in the fight. Centurion says breakfast for the champ. Absolutely. I didn't have breakfast yet, but this coffee is my breakfast for right now. This is what I'm thinking when it comes to Canelo Alvarez. Canelo hits different. So whatever David was able to walk through last night, I'm not saying he can't do that with Canelo, but what I'm saying is it might not nearly be as easy. Canelo, you walk into that fight like Canelo, like the way, on Canelo like that, Canelo is going to block and counter you, and he's going to counter you with hard shots. He's going to go to the body with hard shots. He welcomes pressure. Does he fade? Yes. I think Canelo's, if the fight were to happen, I think the one issue for Canelo is that he may fade, and then Benavidez can take over. All right. But Canelo will be up in the rounds, in my opinion, more so than Caleb Plant was. I think after the first 4 or 5 rounds, Caleb Plant was winning. And then after that, I say by the 5th, whatever I scored it last night, I think I might have got rid of the paper. Yeah, at the 5th round, after that, everything after the 5th round to me was David Benavidez. I think that's the biggest thing. And that's one flaw I could see Canelo having in a fight, but that's a big flaw to have. I mean, giving up the last 4 rounds, so 40-year-old Triple G says a lot. I know Bivol is much better. Bivol is much better than Benavidez to me. I don't even want to compare the two. I think if Bivol were to ever fight Benavidez, it would look like the Zerto fight. It would be easy for Bivol. Right? So I'm not going to go there. I understand that Bivol is much more difficult of a fight for Canelo, in my opinion. But it doesn't mean that I don't want to see the fight. We got to remember that Canelo is fighting John Ryder in his very next fight. All right? I know John and Benavidez didn't fight each other, but to be honest, I don't know how people could complain about the Benavidez fight with Canelo and be okay with the John Ryder fight. I just don't know. I mean, no one cares about the John Ryder fight. There's a lot of hype into this fight. Lex, no, I didn't pick Caleb Plant to win. I didn't pick Plant to win. A lot of people heard that because I was calling out again, and this is proof of what I was saying in a video I did following up the breakdown. A lot of people saw that video, heard me expose a lot of Benavidez flaws, and just thought that I picked Plant. Most people didn't listen to the rest of the video. I didn't pick Plant to win. I picked Benavidez to win by stoppage, late stoppage. Yeah, it sold out in an hour in Mexico. It sold out an hour in Mexico. It did. Canelo's core fan base supporting the fight, yes. But does anybody here? Is anybody asking for that? Was anybody asking for Canelo and what's his name? John Ryder? Did it sell out for tickets that people's gonna go? Yes, this is Canelo's first fight in Mexico in years. People want to see him. I'm talking about boxing fans. Was anybody asking for him to fight John Ryder? If Canelo and Ryder is selling out that fast, what do you think Canelo and Benavidez would do? If they both have pay-per-views, what would be the bigger pay-per-view? Like, let's not pretend like we don't know. You know what I'm saying? Was anybody Shadow, you all right, I'm just gonna ignore your messages right now because you're acting like Benavidez is not the bigger fight. Benavidez Canelo or Benavidez Canelo or Canelo and John Ryder. What's the bigger fight? Answer that question. Does anybody here want to see the fight? Or does anyone not want to see the fight with Benavidez? Yeah, Shadow's being very sensitive right now. It's all good. I like you, Shadow, so I'm gonna let you rock. But answer the question. What fight is bigger? He don't want to answer the question. He says every fight is big with Canelo. I know that. What is the better fight? Answer the question. Benavidez and Canelo or and Canelo and John Ryder. What is the bigger fight? Answer the question. What are we talking about here? What narrative are you talking about here? I'm saying that I'm clearly saying, and the link is up. If you want to get on here and talk, you can talk. I put the link up. I'll put it up again if you want. You can get on here and speak your piece. What fight is the bigger fight? Benavidez and Canelo, and that did that in Mexico. So what is the bigger fight? I'm talking for the people that have a problem with Benavidez as the next opponent. Canelo versus Benavidez, I guess. Yeah, you Shadow, you've been here for a minute, bro. I think you're being a little sensitive this morning. I think you are. All right. So going back to my point, I don't understand why people don't want the Benavidez fight, or like, even if you're not impressed with Benavidez still, right? I put in the caption in the thumbnail, the Mexican monster, right? Because he destroyed Caleb Plant last night. Even if you still don't think Benavidez is that good, why wouldn't it be a good fight? When Benavidez lost his title before and Canelo didn't fight him, and Canelo went on to beat Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders, right? And Caleb Plant, there were a lot of people that were saying, yo, Canelo Alvarez is ducking David Benavidez, right? He was ducking David Benavidez. And what did I say to you guys? I say, no, he's not ducking David Benavidez, because Benavidez lost his titles on a scale or to drugs, which way was the order. I don't know which one was first. I don't remember which one was first. But what I was saying is David Benavidez needs to put himself back in a position so where Canelo will fight him. And he did that last night. Now, as far as Bivol, Canelo is most likely going to fight Bivol in a rematch, right? Which is fine. I don't have a problem with that fight. My thing is I personally, my preference is I would like to see the Benavidez fight. You know, I want to see that fight more because I already seen Canelo in there with Bivol. I already saw that fight. So I personally want to see Benavidez and Canelo get it in. I want to see that more than the Bivol rematch. I want to see it more than the John Ryder fight. People get sensitive when you say that shit, though, because it's like, I get it. I know what the problem is. There's so many people that ran with the narrative that Benavidez was or Canelo was ducking Benavidez. So whenever you bring up Benavidez now, people get angry. You know what I'm saying? People don't want you to talk about him when it comes to Canelo. They don't want you to do it. I'm not even pushing that narrative. All I'm saying is I want to see the fight. What's the problem with having a fight? Why do people don't want that fight so bad? You know, why was it okay for Canelo to say, yo, I don't want to fight other Mexican fighters? Why were people okay with him saying that? People want the fight. I'm sure if you ask people that are living in Mexico, I'm sure that fight would be bigger there. And I know David's not really from out there, and that's cool. Whatever way you wanna look at it, that fight would be dope. All the people that went out there and supported Benavidez out there where they had that fight was there for him. People were supporting him. Nicholas says, Nicholas, thank you for the donation. He said at 168, the only way someone can beat David is if they have enough power to hurt him. At light heavyweight, Benavidez will look more ordinary because guys are his own size. Well, first of all, I agree with you 100%. And that is part of the reason why he was able to just run through Caleb Plant last night. Because I know with Breadman, I know that they were working on power like they did with the Darrell fight, was able to knock him out. They were working on power. Sure. I compare what they were trying to do with him to what what's the name? Derek James did with Jamel Charlo. I get it, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out, and he got destroyed. He got destroyed for the whole 12 rounds. Not the whole 12 rounds, but like I said, after the fourth, fifth round, it was it was all David in my opinion. But yeah, I agree with you. Light heavy is a different conversation. I don't know what David could do at light heavy, or he can be better. I mean, we say that because we're only judging his performances right now. He might be stronger at light heavy, but I agree. I don't think he beats Bivol at light heavy. I think Bivol toys with him. I think Better BF beats him. I think shit. I mean, even now, I still think Canelo beats him. But the problem is the gamble is with Benavidez is that if you can't hurt him, right? Because he's shown us to be very durable. Outside the Ronald Gavriel fight where he was dropped, the first one. Outside of that, he's shown to be very, very, very durable. And if these guys like Canelo as well, if Canelo's not able to hurt him, I can see Canelo fading late and him, Benavidez, becoming a problem. Or I can also see Canelo picking him apart, hitting him with hard counters. I think what Canelo would do well in that fight is, even if Canelo isn't able to hurt him, like put him down or anything like that, Canelo can change his momentum and slow the pressure down with hard body shots, hard counters that can actually, make Benavidez not want to pressure. If Benavidez could get to a point where, like, if you can actually get him to fight scared or concerned and make him stay on the outside and not really want to engage, then he's going to be neutralized. But we could come up with all these theories. If they don't fight, we can talk about these theories forever. He's now in position to fight for a title again. So if Bivol does not happen, because he's fighting John Ryder, that's cool. If Bivol does not happen, fight David Benavidez. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you're fighting a mandatory now, fight the other one. This is a tune-up. I mean, you're trying to get your hand back together, right? If you're cool with fighting John Ryder right now, fight David Benavidez. If you don't fight Bivol. If you don't fight Bivol. Mr. Grani says, at this point, I think Plant may even beat Jamal Charlo. Yeah, right now he does. I think right now he does. Yo, I've been telling y'all guys, like, I wouldn't even put Jamal Charlo in the conversation right now. Like, even like right now, I would Jamal Charlo against John Ryder. I'm not even sure if he could beat John Ryder right now. I'm being dead serious. I just wouldn't do it. I got to see what Jamal has. I don't know what he got right now. You know, um, I'm being serious. I just don't. I'm not. I'm not sleeping on Charlo. I gotta see what he can do. I gotta see what he can do right now. I gotta see what he can do. He haven't fought in 2 years, and that Montiel fight wasn't all that good. You know, I don't know what he got right now. You know, I don't know what he got. Faust, thank you for the donation. He says Benavidez likes to fight forward. So does Canelo. If they fight, who would most likely be on the pressing forward? That's the thing. Canelo likes to fight forward, but he doesn't have to. You get what I'm saying? He likes to fight forward. He doesn't have to. If he doesn't fight forward, he'll fight on his back foot and set traps. Ask James Kirkland. You know, that fight with James Kirkland was never about him being on the front foot. It was about you knowing that your opponent loves to be on the front foot and you're going to set traps for him. So Benavidez has to fight forward. From what I've seen, he has to fight forward. If, you know, Canelo can resort and adjust to fighting on his back foot and hit you with the same hard shots. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little different. Big Shot says the Cuban superstar David Morrell Jr. would beat Benavidez. You know what? And I talked about this last night. I didn't say that, but what I said is I would love to see that fight right now. I mean, David Morrell is already in place. He's already, you know, I know he doesn't have many fights, but he only has 8 fights. If he's a WBA regular champion and Benavidez can't get Canelo in the ring this September, fight David Morrell Jr. I mean, they're both Showtime fighters. They're both PBC guys. Fight him, you know, or fight Demetrius Andrade. You know, fight Demetrius Andrade. Who do you guys think win that fight, by the way? Let's talk about that. That's one of the fights I wanted to bring up. Who wins, David Benavidez or Demetrius Andrade right now? Who wins that fight? Yo, OT, QT, I'm sorry. Good question. I'm actually not sure. I'm actually not sure. But I'll look that up. Thanks for asking that. Because actually that was something I was like wondering maybe like a few weeks ago. But I didn't look it up. I don't know what the condition is of David Morrell's last fight. Was it his last fight or the fight before his last fight? But I know who you're talking about. All right. Benavidez, Andrade, Benavidez right now. It beats Andrade, Benavidez, KO, Benavidez. Mostly some boo-boo in here. Demetrius, okay. We got some people saying Andrade. Mostly Benavidez, though. I kind of would lean towards, Benavidez. I think Andrade does better than Plant in the earlier rounds. But again, Andrade, he's explosive in the earliest rounds. Andrade is really, really he's a really, really fast starter, but he's a slow finisher. You know, so I think Benavidez beats him, in my opinion. You know, I think Benavidez beats him. But again, these are all hypothetical. You know, I would be leaning towards Benavidez right now. You know, outside of Canelo, to be honest, I would be leaning with Benavidez against everybody else right now at this moment. You know, because like David Morrell looks great, but I still feel that even though he's in position to fight any of these fighters, I still feel that I want to see a little bit more first. You know, I haven't seen him. He just looks really good, but I don't know what happens when he steps up. It's similar to how I had Benavidez. Like he looks really, really good, but I wanted to see him step up against like another champion or former champion, like an active like a guy like Plant, you know. Big Shot said if it goes the distance, Andre will win the decision. Is there anybody here in the comments that think Benavidez would beat Canelo? Is there anybody here that thinks he can beat him now? D-Style said, thank you, D-Style. Shout out to D-Style. He says Canelo versus Benavidez, Cinco de Mayo 2024. Does anybody think that Benavidez wins now against Canelo if they were to fight? If they were to fight in September or next year, Cinco de Mayo, who would win that fight? Fotex got David beating Canelo. Word of the day says Canelo. Oh, so there's a few people that got David winning right now. Self production says better beat up would beat Benavidez. Yeah, I don't know what David can do. I'm talking about 168. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about 168. Good question. Metal Face says, Wave, do you think Canelo is slowing down a bit into stage? A lot of people have been saying that in my comments and in the recent videos that I've done since the Triple G fight. You know, I think somebody made a very long comment basically saying he made some good points in the comment. And he was basically saying, you know, Canelo's been fighting as a pro since he was 15. So even though he's 30 or 31 or he's in his early 30s, he basically said that Canelo might be starting to slip up a little bit. You know, and in that you can go back and forth with that all day. But at the same time, it's like, what are we basing that on? Are we basing that on the Bivol fight? Because Bivol is very, very good, you know, and even if you pick Canelo to win, you know, like I picked him to win a decision, edge a decision, you know, a lot of that was basing it on close rounds going to him, you know. So are you going to really fault him for losing that fight? That was a very good opponent, clearly. And, you know, I think, are we going to base that on, excuse me? I mean, I get for the Triple G trilogy, I get that. But I don't know. I don't want to jump to that yet. You know, I got to see him really fade. Like, maybe if he doesn't look good against John Ryder, maybe we can have that conversation. I need a little bit more than just him because he went from Plant to Bivol where he lost, but Triple G, he still clearly won the third fight. He burned out late, but I can't jump the gun yet and say that. I don't know. I can't. Not yet. Not yet. I got to see the Ryder fight first. D-Style says 60-40 Canelo, close fight. Yeah, I'm like about that with it right now. I'm there for it right now. I think I'm still leaning with Canelo 60-40. I think the only way Canelo loses to Benavidez right now is if he slows down too early. You know, but I think Canelo is going to win and pick up more rounds in the first half of the fight. You know, and to be honest, in 6 rounds, I'm saying in a strong 5 or 6 rounds, I can't see David winning more than, you know, 1 round, maybe 2 pushing it, 2 rounds, maybe, you know. New Age says Canelo's an old 32. Callum Smith versus Benavidez at light heavyweight. I don't know. Callum Smith can crack, and Benavidez got suspect defense. I can't, you know, I can't really. Callum Smith might hurt him. Callum Smith is a bigger puncher. You know, Callum Smith is a one-punch knockout kind of guy. Even if you're outworking him, Callum Smith really belongs at 175. He really belongs there, clearly. He can be outboxed. He might even be outworked. But he hits hard as hell. You know? Let me ask you guys this. Benavidez versus Zerto. What do you guys think of that? Who's better? I mean, this is an old conversation. This is an old debate. Benavidez versus Zerto. Who's better? I'll say this. I think Benavidez is better at 168 than Zerto was when he was at 168. I'll say that. At 175 though, I don't know, man. That's a tough one. You know, it's hard to ask these questions now because Zerto is coming off of his worst performance. You know, I mean, I gave him 2 rounds against people. I don't know. There's also a chance that Benavidez might even be better at 175. He won't have to drain himself as much. David is definitely a lot faster, though. Yeah, that's a good point, Alex. Morrell is the real deal. Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about him earlier. He's a real deal, but I want to see him. I want to see a little something, you know, before I jump the gun. I do think that David destroys Berlanga, though. I said this last night. A couple of y'all disagree with it, but I think he destroys Edgar Berlanga. Gamer said, great post-fight video. Thank you. Centurio said Zerto should go to heavyweight. I mean, why would he do that right now? Nah, Zerto, I hear you because he missed weight. If he can't make weight, if he missed weight by that much, he just didn't care to fight right now. I think it's a mental thing, you know. The miss weight like that, it might just be a mental thing, you know. Shadow says, how do I think Benavidez would take Canelo's punches? That's the thing. I feel like Canelo hits so much harder than anybody that Benavidez has fought at this point. I think Benavidez is durable. I don't know if he can take the body shots from Canelo. That's the key thing. Canelo hits him to the body. I think Benavidez is going to slow down with that pressure. Because you don't want to get hit by too many of those. And he'll definitely be... Damn, hold on. Give me a second. My heater just came alive. Yeah, I think Benavidez, it's the hooks to the body that I think is going to hurt Benavidez if they are to fight. You know, I think you got to, like someone said earlier, if you got to either hurt Benavidez or make him slow down with all that pressure. Because if you turn it into a boxing fight where Benavidez is not applying that much pressure and he got to work on just outboxing you, that's where he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be that good. You know, that's where I say Benavidez is not that good. But Benavidez is walking you down and keeping that volume high like the way he did last night. That's when, you know, when you start fading and you don't have the power anymore, the stamina to bang with him, that's when you're in trouble. You know, but that's why I think it's such a good fight between Canelo and Benavidez, because I think Canelo could definitely beat him. But I think that Canelo, if he does fade, he's going to be in trouble, you know? But see, the thing is with Plant, The problem with Plant last night, and it's a big problem. Plant was not comfortable in fighting in the pocket at all. What people say about Lawrence Okolie, we saw that last night with Plant. But in other fights, I've seen Plant fight in the pocket comfortable. I don't think that's his actual A game, but I think he can handle himself in the pocket. You know, last night it was just all about holding, hitting, and hold, hitting from the outside and holding. He would step in, throw his combinations, and then hold. Or sometimes he'll just lunge in and hold, you know? So I felt like what people will say about Lawrence Okolie, for example, Lawrence Okolie, who's much more limited than Plant, you know, I think Plant is much better talent. But the way that Plant fought last night, he seemed like he never looked comfortable with engaging, you know, with Benavidez on the inside. He did at some points, he did throw some combinations and some body shots and some hooks on the inside. But the majority of the fight, he held when they were close. He held. I am one to believe though that Kenny Bayless did mess up the fight in a way. You know, I think I'm not blaming it on him, because I think that Benavidez landed the amount of shots that would stop someone or knock someone out. You know, I don't think that David Benavidez hit harder than Canelo. And I would have told you guys that before last night. One punch, like punch for punch, I think Canelo's punches are more effective. I do think Canelo hits harder, but I think Benavidez just hits you more. He hit Plant a hell of a lot more last night once he got it going. And then, I mean clean, you know, with uppercuts, those short right hands. He was hitting him with pure raw power for a lot of rounds. And Plant just couldn't, he just did not go down. You know, I know he held a lot, but he got clean a lot. He got hit clean a lot. Canelo didn't hit him clean that much. It took that one hook to put Plant on his ass. You know, I mean, before that hook, Plant was still in the fight. I don't think he was winning at that point, but he was still in the fight. But when he got hit with that sweeping left hook, he went down. You know, I think Benavidez hit him a lot. But I'm just like, you know, I'm waiting for the fight to get stopped. I'm waiting for it, and it just didn't happen. Like, Plant survived, and Plant fought in the 12th round. He traded with Benavidez and still got hit clean a lot, and he went toe to toe with Benavidez. You know, John says, yeah, but Canelo has low output. Yeah, he has low output, but he makes the punches count. He doesn't waste the punches like that. You know. So I agree. Yes, he does have low output. I think and to this day, I have never seen Canelo fight a better fight than the Gennady Golovkin rematch. Golovkin against Canelo, they're both best performances. The best I've ever seen them was that fight. Like, Canelo that night, and it might have to do with him being at 160. That's the fastest I've seen him. That's the most amount of punches I've seen him. The jab was on point. Like, even if you think he lost that fight, that was the best I've ever seen Canelo. Like, I don't think Canelo ever performed so good in a fight, in a top level fight. You know, he looked way better than he did in the first one to me. And even though he performed well at 168, I felt like he was so much faster. And I'm saying that because doing film study, probably on the last couple of fights, I would say that when I went back and watched Canelo at 160, I felt like he was so much faster at 160 than he was at 168. He might be more stronger at 168. He might be more powerful. But I liked how Canelo looked at 160. You know? Like, he was so fast in that rematch with Golovkin, and he was able to go punch for punch with him. It's me, Pablo says, Canelo will make Benavidez pay for his lack of defense to the point that Benavidez will be hesitant to come in and exchange with him. And this was what I said earlier, you know, and this is a good point. especially with the counters to the body. I think the hooks to the body would be a problem with David. I noticed that David didn't have much like bruising on his face from the fight last night. Um, I want to see somebody really dig to his body. I want to see how he deals with that. Because Canelo is going to slip and throw left hooks to his body, and they're going to be hard counters, very hard. I want to see how David deals with that, and if he can keep the pressure going. I really want to see this fight. I want to see it because it's just a great matchup to me. I do. I'm leaning towards Canelo, but I think David could give him issues late in that fight if it goes late. I love that fight. I really want to see. I've been wanting to see it, but I want to see it even more now. Callum Smith fight, he looked great. I think he looked great in that fight. I think he looked great in Saunders' fight. I really liked him in the Saunders fight, to be honest. I liked him in the Saunders fight. I think out of those fights, I think I liked him the best in the Saunders fight. Because Saunders I really respect as a boxer, and so does Plant. But I like the fight. I thought it was competitive. I like what Saunders was doing in the fight. It's just Callum Smith didn't do much for me in the fight. I think all Callum Smith had was size. I think David Benavidez would bring more than what Callum Smith did in that fight. El Chivo asked Boxingwave, what's your thoughts on the Rio and Chris Colbert fight? I had it scored 5-5. Okay. I think it should have been 95-90, or was it? I think it should have been 96-95. What's the name? Rio. Because Rio scored a knockdown. It was back and forth. I don't feel that Chris Colbert won the fight. I scored it too close to say it was a robbery, but I don't think Chris Colbert won the fight. Simply because the rounds that I gave to Rio, to me, he won clear. And he scored a knockdown in the first round. The rounds I gave to Chris, I still feel like maybe one or two of those were debatable. I think Chris won about 3 very clear rounds. Very clear. Whereas Rio, I feel like when Rio was winning, it was clear. He was hurting Chris more. I just, it was back and forth. And like I said, I scored it a draw based on the rounds won. But it's 96-95 for Rio if you're including the knockout. Rio should have won the fight. Chris didn't win, but there were people in the comments that had that one swing round that I gave to Chris. The one close round that I gave to Rio, I think some people gave to Chris. So a lot of people had it scored 6-4 for Chris that was watching my comments. And not a lot of people. Let me say not a lot. It was a few. It was like 2 or 3, But you know what I'm saying. I think Rio won. All right. But I don't think it was a robbery. I think Colbert got a gift, but I don't think it was a robbery. The fight was close. It was close. I don't think you could score 6-4 any wider than 6-4 either side or a draw. Yeah, I scored Benavidez up versus Plant. I gave Plant 3 rounds. I scored 1 a draw. The 5th round was a swing round for me. And the rest of the rounds I gave to all to David. So I gave Plant 3 rounds. Yeah. All right. But yeah, I love the fight, man, and I'm looking forward to it. If it does happen. Like my man D Style that came up here earlier, he said that the fight is probably gonna happen uh in 2024 for Cinco de Mayo. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that Canelo can beat Bivol in a rematch? And what exactly does Canelo have to do better in order to win that fight? Does anyone here believe that Canelo could win or will win? Let me say that, not could. Does anybody believe that Canelo will win the rematch? And if so, what exactly does Canelo have to do better to win this rematch? I personally think I don't think he can beat Bivol. I personally don't. I think even if he does a little bit better, I still think he loses. And there's also the chance that Bivol might do even better in the rematch. We're always talking Canelo because Canelo's the one that lost. Um, what do you guys feel about that? Does anyone think that? Yeah, everybody's on no. I think we all pretty much agree. Tyler says he's not good enough to beat Bivol, doesn't throw enough punches, but to win, he have to throw more punches. I don't think it's about just throwing enough punches in that fight. That I kind of disagree with. I think not only was Bivol bigger and was comfortable with Canelo's power, I just think that he's better. He's bigger and better. You know, I think Canelo got outboxed. I don't think he necessarily just got outworked. I don't think more punches does the job. If you look at the stats, I don't think Canelo landed many punches. You know, I think he was able to land some nice uppercuts through the guard of Bivol, but he couldn't penetrate Bivol's defense well. I don't think it has to do with punches. That's part of the reason why I don't want to see the rematch, because I just didn't see anything in that fight that made me feel that Canelo can do better. I don't think there's anything based on what Canelo can do in his actual ability, in his arsenal, that makes me feel that he has a shot to beat Bivol. I think if they had brought Bivol down to 168, because they were talking about that, if that would have happened, then I think that might have changed it a little bit, because Bivol would have been fighting at a weight that he hasn't fought at since he's been a pro. But like straight up at 175, I don't think Bivol loses to Canelo, man. Yeah, I think Bivol only loses to Better BF if he loses to anybody right now. He's just too good defensively. You know, his defense is on point. It's hard to really penetrate his defense. Jesus says, I'd rather see Canelo versus Better BF just because of the styles, and it would be cool to see Canelo finally get knocked out. Oh, shit. um, I would personally want to see the fight too, because uh it's a different fight, you know, and I don't think Better BF has the defense that Bivol have. You know, I think Canelo problem is same with Better BF, Benavidez, but on a different level. I'm worried about Canelo slowing down, and if you slow down against Better BF, it's gonna be like you're risking stoppage. You're risking like really getting hurt. You know, because Better BF outworks you. He pressures you in a different way. All right. He's a very technical pressure fighter, not just raw volume like Benavidez and stuff. He's a guy that makes the punches count. He's a pressure fighter. He hits extremely hard. And he can do it all too. Um, then Canelo, I would like to see Canelo take that fight simply because Better BF is easier to hit than Bivol. So in that sense, Canelo, I feel like Canelo would connect with more shots and stuff like that. But the risk of getting stopped is much higher against Better BF. Definitely. You know, but watching the Bivol fight, man, to be honest, there's nothing in that fight that makes me feel that Canelo could do anything for Bivol. You know, I don't think Even if he improves in some area, it won't be enough to get a clear win because Bivol defense is just too tight, you know, and throwing more punches is not going to be the key thing. I think is, like we were saying earlier, we know that Canelo don't like the waist punches. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't like the waist punches. So I don't really know, man. I don't know. New York for Life says you're 100% right about Bivol beating Canelo, but technically, according to the judges, all Bivol needed to do was slip on a wet spot for the fight to have gone Canelo's way. Yeah, I mean, I picked Canelo to win on the points, but I said that that would also be Canelo's toughest fight since probably Floyd. I mean, this was before the fight. But, I just didn't think Bivol would do enough to win on the judges' scorecard because I feel like Canelo would get the closest round because he is the star, you know? But it was just too much. It was too much. I think they still gave him more rounds than I probably gave Canelo in the fight. I think I gave Canelo 3 rounds in that fight. What's up, Boxing Lodges? What's good with you, man? I haven't seen you in a minute. Too Savage says, I think Canelo could hurt Benavidez. Yard hurt Benavidez a couple of times. I think that fight would be more technical than we think. It would be. It would be. But I actually want to see that fight. I want to see it simply because Benavidez is not defensively gifted like Bivol, but offensively, Benavidez is more dangerous. So that's the gamble in the fight. You can hit Benavidez, and you have more more of a chance of hurting him. He's been down a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? So he's been rocked. He can definitely get hurt in a fight and clipped. But the gamble is you got to worry about him knocking you out too. Excuse me. It's a good fight, and it's a different fight. And more importantly, it's a different fight. Jose says that tells us how difficult light heavy is right now. Canelo is a way better chance to beat Benavidez over Benavidez and better beer. First of all, let's make something clear. Light heavyweight, and it's been this way for a long time, at least as long as I've been covering fights on this channel. Light heavyweight has been, at bare minimum, a top fight division in this sport for a very, very long time. Okay? It's been a top tier division consistently for years. You know why? Because all the guys from 160 and 168 usually have to end their careers there or move up at some point to go up there. Right? If we're looking at this current class of fighters, we have 2 guys that's in the pound for pound. That's Benavidez and Bivol. Let's just start there. We got 2 guys that's in the pound for pound list. Easily. At least I don't want to say easily because it's just a list. It's my preference. Those 2 are in the pound for pound. And then there's everybody else. I think 168 is basically a junior version of 175. You run the division at 168, you go up and fight the big boys. All the guys that were good at 168, they go up there. But this current class, we got 2 pound for pound fighters. In the last class, we had 2 or 3. We had 2 there too. But then we had Ward, we had Kovalev, we had Stevenson. Stevenson might have not been a pound for pound for you guys, but he was one of the most dangerous punchers in all of the sport. So we had Kovalev. He was a pound for pound fighter and is in his prime. 175 has just always been dangerous. I mean, even John Pascal is still out here stopping young fighters like Marcus Brell. It just goes to show you how much talent is there. B-Hop finished his career there. He was unified. It's a good division. It's always going to be a good division. You know, what's up, Red? It's a tough division, man. Tough division. Fode says Canelo is tired. The wear and tear is affecting him. Yeah, somebody else said earlier that he's an old 32. You might be right. I think the John Ryder fight is going to show whether or not, he's starting to really, especially if he's coming off an injury. I think if this fight is a little too competitive, I think what I will say, and I said this in my breakdown, I think the fight is going to be more competitive than we think. But I think if the fight is too competitive, it might be a sign that Canelo is slowing down. Because even if you are 32 years old, if you got 17 years in professional experience, that might be a lot. If you got 17 years in pro experience, that's a lot. That's a hell of a lot. I mean, not many fighters can fight, and I mean the top tier fighters. Most of them can't really go over 18 years at an elite level. So he's pushing it right now. All right. All right, guys. It was a nice chat. We're gonna talk more. I gotta head out. But we'll be back. We'll be talking more about this fight and some of the other fights. All right. What do we have this weekend? We have Anthony Joshua, Jermaine Franklin. I think the real fight of this weekend is going to be Robesi Ramirez against Isaac Dobe. I know that's not a big name fight, but I think that's the fight to watch for this weekend. So I will be doing a breakdown on that. I'm leaning towards Robesi Ramirez to win, but that's a very, very good fight. All right, that's a good matchup. And then we got AJ against Jermaine Franklin. I will do a breakdown on that too, and I'll probably be covering it live. All right, I'll let you guys know. But yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back soon with more content. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and smash the like button for this video. Please, let's on your way out. Let's get over 100 likes. Get the likes up. And I'll see you guys on the next one. We'll be talking about this forever. It's always going to be, I think Benavidez and Canelo are already connected. Even it's going to be even more so now that Benavidez beat Plant the way that he did. Yeah. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Leave your comments. I will be reading all of them. And I'll see you guys on the next one. All right. Y'all have a good day. Peace.